The Monkey is a deeply unserious movie, and that's kinda why I love it. See, I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and his books have been created into some of the greatest, scariest, and most heartfelt movies of all time. The man has been pumping out content for over 50 years, and while he's had plenty of misses, his best work still goes toe-to-toe with anyone else. But while we've gotten plenty of serious adaptations from King and plenty of silly or outright bad movies, few have willingly embraced the cocaine-fueled energy and comedy at the heart of so many King stories like The Monkey does. While the best Stephen King movies can make us cry our hearts out or shit our pants, you might not realize how funny and quirky King stories often are. I feel like so many King adaptations try to avoid that dark humor or cut some of the more over-the-top, goofy aspects of his writing, and that's why even though The Monkey is far from being a perfect movie, it is one of the better King adaptations I've ever seen. This movie doesn't shy away from the absurdity of King's storytelling, and it doesn't even pretend to be grounded in reality. And I was honestly shocked afterwards to find out that so much of the original story was changed for this movie, because the character dialogue and the way this all unfolds felt like I was literally watching King's writing come to life. And that's something that can't always be said, even for his best film adaptations. There's some absolutely insane stuff that happens in The Monkey, and I understand if it's too much for you to enjoy, but I personally loved it. One of the staples of King's writing is the small town, usually set in Maine, that is being tormented by some creative horror. Sometimes it's a clown, or a dog, or a sentient car, and sometimes it's a monkey that causes a final destination death every time you turn his key. Whatever ridiculous premise you get, you can guarantee that King is going to introduce you to a cast of even more ridiculous characters as you meet the town. Every single character in his books, even if they are only in the story for one single page, will have some unique or zany personality trait that makes them at least somewhat memorable, if not totally unforgettable. And most of the characters we meet in The Monkey fall in that line. Yes, they die within minutes of being on screen, but they're all able to stand out in one way or another before the monkey bangs his drum. I thought most of the side characters were entertaining, and the pace of this movie benefits from these constant introductions and departures. This movie also nails the King-style dialogue because the kids talk and act like kids, and there's even a moment where one of the characters screams, "We need to make like eggs and scramble," and that cheesy old man phrase is the exact thing I expect a King character to say. So there was a bunch about this movie that I enjoyed. I think Theo James is good in the lead, even though he really doesn't get that much character development to work with. He does a great job of reacting to the chaos around him in a way that is so nonchalant and hilarious at times. I think all of the kid actors were good in this, and I was pretty happy to see Rowan Campbell back in another horror movie. I always thought he got a raw deal for his role in Halloween Ends, and that he was pretty good as Corey Cunningham despite the overall issues I had with that story. And so I was looking forward to seeing him in this. Now I wish he had a little bit more to do in this story, and they definitely could have given him a better wig, but I think he was fine in the moments that he was on screen. He has some genuinely funny moments, and I hope to see him in more horror movies moving forward because I do enjoy him as an actor. As for the kills, which is pretty much the main selling point of this movie, we get a pretty creative body count and some very gory moments. Again, they changed a lot of this from the original story, but the constant flashes we get to other townspeople being killed in creative ways felt like I was reading one of King's chapters. Those quick vignettes of what's going on around town is a staple of his writing, and I kind of appreciate that. Again, this movie leans all the way into being absurd with kills and body physics that just aren't realistic at all. Like, someone explodes in this movie. Straight up explodes in a way that just is not possible. Like, human bodies do not react to things like that. But while you can choose to be frustrated at the lack of realism, this movie isn't trying to be anything serious, and I found those moments to be genuinely funny. My biggest problem with this movie was the ending, but even that can be credited as a great Stephen King adaptation, despite the fact that this movie ends in a totally different way from the book. King will take a crazy premise and squeeze out every last possibility before eventually leaving himself with nowhere else to go for the ending. and that often leads to a lackluster or disappointing feeling by the end of his stories. He has said that he almost never starts a book with an ending in mind, and that his writing process is basically just a journey of exploring one of his wild ideas. In other words, King isn't afraid to jump the shark, but that can often mean the story gets so out of order that it's difficult to close up. Again, the writers tried to switch it up from the original story, but they still found themselves falling right back into that Stephen King trap. They pushed this movie as far as it can go, and then it kinda just ends. I don't think we learn anything in this movie, and it doesn't end with any indication of where the characters are realistically going from here. It doesn't even resolve the main problem either. The movie just genuinely ends. And so, like I said at the top, this movie isn't perfect by any means, and it certainly won't work for everybody, but as someone who has read over 20 Stephen King books, and I plan on reading many more, I can say that at least for me, this is everything that I want from the crazier comedic side of King's writing. It doesn't always have to be scary or tense or genuinely heartfelt. Sometimes it can just be unabashedly stupid, and I'm here for it. And last note, Osgood, Perkins, and Neon deserve so much credit for the run that they've been on. They just continue to pick unique projects that I've been loving, and The Monkey is definitely one of them. So let me know what you think if you've seen this movie, or if you're a big Stephen King fan who has been waiting for an adaptation that isn't afraid to show the goofy and quirky side of his writing. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed my review, then please drop a like and hit the subscribe button. I've really enjoyed making these videos so far, and I have more fun ideas for the future, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of them. And on that last note, lead them to paradise.